Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about psychology. Acha, I have to record this, right? Is it recording? Okay, चल रहा है, ठीक है. Today we're going to talk about psychology in the digital age. We're discussing AI, technology, and human behavior. AI seems to be like a very intensive trend going on right now, and it's becoming a part of our lives in a lot of ways. So it's important to understand AI with reference to psychology as well. Yeah. Today, we'll be talking a little bit about how technology influences our cognition and behavior. We'll work on recognizing psychological mechanisms behind screen addiction and game addiction as well. How can we use AI in mental health and psychology in an ethical manner? And how can technology driven world mein, how can psychologists survive, right? Okay. Now, when we are talking about artificial intelligence and human behavior, we have heard so much about AI, right? So we are understanding that AI is no longer a tool. Technology is no longer just a tool. It is becoming an environment for us. If I was to ask you, when was the last time you used an artificial intelligence tool today? Today, when was the last time you used an artificial intelligence tool? What did you use it for? Say 2 minutes ago, 15 minutes, half an hour. Can you all also, if you're comfortable, tell me what you used it for? Hmm. School project ideas. Right. Okay. So see, um, whenever, okay, whatever things we're discussing about here, can you imagine doing it before ChatGPT? Before ChatGPT, before Gemini, before Perplexity, etc., what was our normal way of doing things through Google, right? Now, even before that, like when I was your age and when I was a little younger also, I can't believe I'm actually saying this as a 24-year-old, but हमारे ज़माने में, we would also use a lot of primary based research. We would read on books, we would understand a little about the concepts we're working on, we would try and understand that not just about Google. I'm not saying we would not use Google. We would also sort of try and understand we would read our textbooks. We would read a lot of newspapers. We would also read a lot. We would read a lot, and we would try and find content which was original, जो हमें ढूंढ के लाना पड़ता था, right? So it wasn't that easy. But today, AI has made things very easy. So when I say that AI and technology is becoming an environment, I mean to say that it is becoming a part of our life. It is not something we can exist without. But actually, उतना हमने उसको बना दिया है. Do you think we can exist without artificial intelligence? So we can exist without artificial intelligence for sure. But we also think that that would be a much more complicated life. We also know that that life would require a lot more effort from our end, and because we've gotten so used to AI already, we don't want to have that sort of effort, right? Now, AI works on the algorithm principle that it learns what grabs attention, what keeps engagement high, and what increases return visits. Let me ask you something. When you're interacting with a website, how would you like that website to look? When you're interacting with a website, okay, Twisha, you can't hear me. Can everybody else hear me? Okay. Twisha, please check your audio once, okay? Okay. How would you like that website to look? Colorful. Okay. Eye-catching. Excellent. Interactive. Fun. Colorful buttons. Exactly. Now, these are all elements which grab your attention, right? If I was to show you a black and white website, you may not feel as attracted to it. But if I show you a colorful website, which is using a lot of different interfaces and making it very interactive, you'd be more engaged with it, right? So people use AI to create products and websites and a social media database, uh, which engages people, right? Because if you're not creating engaging content, people won't come back to it. Okay. Now we have talked about reinforcement. In reinforcement, we had talked about two words. Can someone tell me what those words were? We talked about reinforcement, obviously, the first one. Um, Punishment. Excellent, right? So, reinforcement learning, यहाँ पे मैंने लिखा है variable rewards create persistent engagement. Now, anybody here who creates content, let me ask you a question. When you're posting a content, do you know how many likes you will get? Do you know how many comments you will get? But we can guess based on the past interactions with the posts. Geet, that's an interesting point, okay? But I'll give you an example. This month is Pride Month, okay? So Pride Month में normally on my psychology page I post a lot of content referring to psychology and social justice lens, intersectionality, etc. Right? But Pride month may I try and focus it more on pride and being a member of the community, etc. Okay. Of course, when I engage in content which my followers are more part of, like a lot of my followers are also a part of the community. So that content gets more interaction than content which is not related to pride, for example. Right? So because I don't know which sort of content will provide me with what sort of reinforcement. That is why I keep creating more content. I ensure that my page is interactive. I ensure that my page is engaging. We would want a lot of people to stay on our page and to interact with the work we post, right? We don't want it to be a passive page. Correct? So AI and technology is also based on the principle that because you don't know when you're going to get rewarded, you will engage with content more. You will engage and you'll make more content and you'll be more active on social media. ठीक है? Yes, Morbi. Yeah, right. All right. Now, when we talk about the algorithmic shaping of reality, chalo, tell me, what is an algorithm? What is an algorithm? It's a code. Okay. But then when we're talking about artificial intelligence, why is it important to talk about algorithm? Like, what is the connection here? Yes, Prithvi, excellent. The things we watch similar to that. Exactly, right? So essentially, the first point here, every user sees a different internet. You know about For You pages on Instagram? आपका अलग होगा, मेरा अलग होगा. Right? Um, you know about suggested following, like, Instagram will tell you, follow this person, you may know this person. आपका अलग होगा, मेरा अलग होगा. Right. What else will be different in your internet or the perception of your internet and my internet? What else will be different? Our feeds will be different. Excellent. The advertisements, amazing, Iram. They will definitely be different. Um, the creators who show up on our feed will be different, right? Like if I'm following someone who is a member, who's a therapist, okay, for example. Yes, Aradhya, very nice. If I'm following a person who's a therapist, then मेरे feed पे भी बहुत therapist के posts आएंगे, right? दूसरे therapist के posts आ जाएंगे ना? So every user sees a different internet. Now, what is the impact of this algorithmic shaping of reality? The first one I've written is an echo chamber. What is an echo chamber? Exactly, Iram. So in this context over here, echo chamber refers to the fact कि मैं एक चीज कर रही हूँ और वही चीज रिपीटेड मुझे और भी मिल रही है. ठीक है? Like I'll give you an example, okay? A lot of people post these reels about, अच्छा दिल्ली मेट्रो में ये होता है, वो होता है. एंड मुंबई की ट्रेन्स में ये होता है, वो होता है, लोकल्स में ऐसे होता है, वैसे होता है. A lot of times when we see one content like that and we respond to it and say कि you know what, इस person ने गलत किया, या okay, this is my opinion, I spent 30 seconds watching this reel, I will continue getting more of that reel. that reel may be causing me negative impact, right? But that doesn't mean कि मुझे नहीं मिलेगा, मुझे और कंटेंट वैसा मिलेगा, because the algorithm doesn't care about my mental health. It's as simple as that. And it's very important to remember this because that's what helps you set apart and set a boundary with AI as well, right? Political polarization. Again, um, if you are a person who's a liberal, if you are a person who's following a particular party, the content which is on your feed will constantly be about that party itself, right? Or about that liberal thought processes, etc. Right? Especially during months of Pride, when people are talking a lot more about um, the political aspect of Pride and how is Pride related to, you know, politics and all those things, right? Okay. Then there is confirmation bias amplification. We talked about confirmation bias, right? Whatever you think, whatever you already have decided. Pride month is a month where we celebrate the LGBTQIA plus community, and we hold space for us to understand more about their existence, the challenges they face, and to provide them with more support. That being said, the whole month, the whole year should be Pride Month, but okay, that's a different topic. Confirmation bias amplification कि आप जिस कंटेंट से अग्री करते हो या इंटरेक्ट करते हो आपको उसी कंटेंट का और मिलेगा, राइट? ठीक है. Algorithmic behavior modification. Behavior changes without explicit awareness. Here we're talking about unconscious or subconscious behavioral changes which we are not aware are actually happening. Can you give me an example? Can you think about something wherein you interacted with an artificial intelligence tool, or you saw a particular reel, or something along those lines, and your behavior changed without you noticing it? Can you think of an example like that? Your way of talking, right? Very good. But also, right, like even simple things. You may not like chocolate. You may not like melody, for example. Okay? Anushka, the question was, can you tell me an example where your behavior changed without explicit awareness while engaging with an AI or a technology? Okay, how many of you all know this? The Meloni, she, the Prime Minister of India, showed her the सब मेलोडी का वो हुआ था ना. तो what happened after that is Melody के sales shot up. Do you think all those people who bought Melody were genuinely aware of Melody? Like being, अच्छा I love Melody इसलिए मैं खरीद रहा हूँ. नहीं. Some of them may have just gone, अच्छा ये तो मैंने recently देखा था, खरीद लेते हैं चलो. क्यों होती है चॉकलेटी, पता करते हैं चलो. Right? These are not things which, हाँ, yes, Madhav, they did गलत company के लिए लिए थे, which was a separate thing altogether. But yeah, so that's how technology and AI change our behavior without us even knowing about it. ठीक है? Okay. Now I want us to discuss a little bit about this case. Okay? आप पहले केस पढ़ लो अच्छे से. The Cambridge Analytica scandal emerged in 2018. So basically, what was revealed was that it is a consulting firm which had taken a lot of data, personal data from a lot of Facebook users, and they were not aware of this. Now, what happened with this is they used this data to create psychological profiles of the individuals, and they used political advertisements, including during the 2016 presidential election. This brought about lots of concerns about how data analytics, AI-driven targeting, etc., influences our behavior and our beliefs. It is very important to cite this example while talking about cases because there are lots of ethical risks associated here. Okay, and now we're going to be talking about the ethical risks while we're going to be discussing about them, right? So when we're talking about AI, I don't want you to just think कि AI अच्छा है या बुरा है. I also want you to understand AI अगर अच्छा है तो क्यों है, बुरा है तो क्यों है, and how do we balance that, right? So Cambridge Analytica scandal, पहले आप लोग पढ़ लो, take 1 minute. If you are done reading it, please put it in the chat box. Okay, great. Now let's discuss some questions about this case, right? If an AI system can predict a person's personality, emotions, and vulnerabilities, where should the line be drawn between personalized assistance and psychological manipulation? Let's simplify this question. Providing political consultation to people, like in this case, the Cambridge Analytica case, providing political consulting to people is not bad. ठीक है? A lot of the times in life, we will require help from professionals in the field of politics, which is fair enough. But what this company did is it was using the information to manipulate people, to target them to think more associated with one particular political party. Right? Yes, that was very unethical, Madhav, definitely. But my question is, on what grounds is it unethical? ठीक है, psychological manipulation. Why else is it unethical? Matlab, isn't this how behavior should be like, if a person is doing a marketing business, isn't this how they should be targeting people to buy their products? By, sending brochures or just sort of sliding it in, etc. Ki acha, this is a product I use, etc. Yes, data privacy and confidentiality. Excellent, Iram and Ananya. Confidentiality is very important because our content, when we are sharing our content with any company, any platform, or whatever purpose, other than personalized assistance, it is not supposed to be used to violate our privacy. That is a basic right when it comes to digital well being. Okay? Look at the second question. Who should be held responsible when AI systems cause psychological harm or influence important decisions? Developers, companies, policymakers, or users? Who should be held responsible? The companies, okay. Right, Iram, that's interesting, right? Sometimes us and sometimes companies. But us को तो manipulate करके लाया जा रहा है ना वहाँ पे. We are being manipulated to sort of engage with their content. So what is our fault? You are right when you say that it's companies, it's policymakers, it's developers, but also you're not wrong when you say that it's also us to a certain extent. हमारी understanding of how data policy works, how data privacy works, or how the entire aspect of um, targeted ads work, etc. Our understanding is very less. Like our knowledge of the world and how the world is working right now is very limited, right? Like I'm sure you must have shown your parents a video, or your parents must have shown you a video and be like, देखो देखो, and you're like, ये AI है, right? Their understanding is quite less, इसीलिए वो स्कैम से पड़ जाते हैं ना. बट ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी बहुत अच्छी है. We also get fooled by these things frequently. So in a way, it's a holistic part. All of us are to be blamed, but not to be blamed with a negative sense. We are to be given responsibility. Let's change this. Right? Okay. The last question for this case. Yeah, Aradhya, exactly, right? AI is a tool. It is not a life script. It is important for us to remember that. Only then will we be able to use AI for its betterment, for our betterment rather. Okay. All right. Is it ethical for AI to influence human decisions if the user is unaware that they are being influenced? This is a question which is, debated a lot, right? If I don't know, if I don't know कि मेरे साथ कुछ harmful हो रहा है, should it matter to me? Right. Precisely my point, right? Exploiting someone, exactly. It should matter, exactly. If you're not aware that something is happening to you, it doesn't mean it's not happening to you. It means it's happening to you, you're just being manipulated to think it's not happening to you. So the bottom line is AI influences human decisions. A lot of the times, human decisions are influenced by AI's targeted advertisements, like Cambridge Analytica did. And it's important here to use our consciousness, to use our conscience rather. Am I really engaging in this activity? Do I really like this product because of The fact that I find it useful, or is it just because everyone is, this thing? Yes, Madhav, definitely it can, which is why we are saying, right? AI is not good or bad. It is the balance where it is at. Okay? Okay. Now, why is technology hard to put down? Please remember, dopamine is not just the pleasure hormone. It focuses on anticipation, motivation, and reward prediction. Dopamine increases in our body when we think that I'm going to get a reward with this particular activity. Right? We talked about variable reward schedules कि हमें पता नहीं होता है कब हमें कौन सा रिवॉर्ड मिलने वाला है इसलिए हम कंटेंट के साथ कॉन्स्टेंटली एंगेज करते हैं right now the infinite scroll problem and reduced stopping cues. Okay, now let's talk about something. Okay. Hmm. Why do people not get addicted to newspapers? Like, have you ever seen anyone getting addicted to newspapers? It's kind of boring. Okay, excitement is missing, not interactive. But most importantly, guys, newspaper कितने pages का होता है? How many pages are there in a newspaper? Yes. There's limited content, right? 6, 8, 12. But internet, Instagram पे देखो तो कितने reels है? Endless reels है. You can exactly, you can go on and on and on. It's just this. That's it. That's it. Our world has become a scroll-based world where you don't even have to engage with finding content. आपको content मिल जाता है. If you're bored and you don't feel like engaging in something and finding something fun to watch, no problem. YouTube will give you suggestions. आप उसको देख लो. आपको कुछ और देखना, scroll करके किसी और वीडियो पे क्लिक कर दो. Right? Because there are no stopping cues. That is why the scrolling has become a problem, right? I don't know if any of you all noticed recently Instagram pe there was an update which would sort of put a message ki you've seen all the content. Do you want to take a break for an hour? Okay? Do you want to take a small break from the content and keep your phone away? And then there was an option of yes or no. If you said no, you can continue going. So what's the use of a tip like that? If you're still gonna continue showing me my content if I say no, तो फायदा क्या हुआ? है ना? So that is where we are at. Okay. Now, gaming psychology. How many people here are gamers? Right. What do you like about games? Now, I don't know any of these games you are playing. Okay, I don't know the names and all that. I don't know any of these things. But they are fun, the stimulation, the story, the different events, rewards. But also, guys, you have a goal, no? When let's take like a very simple game. Okay, let's say Candy Crush. Okay, let's say Subway Surfers. We all know Subway Surfers, right? Subway Surfers, may there are those. Do you remember that? Uh, there was that word thingy which you had to, find. Like they would give you a word and you had to find every alphabet of the word and then you would get like a big grand prize or something like that. You know? Yes. So that is a goal for you, right? You know that you need to find these words and then you will get an outcome, right? Then, of course, there is immediate feedback. When you're engaging in gaming, you don't have to wait 10 hours to be told आपने कितना जीता है या कितना हारा है या क्या क्या हुआ है. You are just instantly told, wow, you completed this level, let's go to the next level. And you get rewards at the same time, right? And there is a progress system. Any game you're playing will not be only a game which is like this. It will be like this. Then it will come down, then it will go up, and it will come down. Once we start engaging with the game, we would like to continue proceeding up. That requires us to engage with the game even more, which is how addiction becomes, right? And of course, there is social rewards. How many people here have ever played a game because मेरे दोस्त भी खेलते हैं? For validation, right? Yes, Anaga. I remember I had once downloaded this one game, Ingress, to because I wanted to like see a game which would allow me to interact with people. Oh my God, I lost my calm within 2 days. I uninstalled it and I did not make play that game again. But then again, right? If you are making friends based on only the game that you are playing being similar, I'm wondering, is that the kind of friendship that you would like in the long run? है ना? So that's gaming psychology. Please remember there is a difference between addiction and normal gaming. First of all, loss of control. आपको कंट्रोल नहीं हो पाता है कि आप कितना खेल रहे हो. Sometimes people skip meals. Sometimes people don't sleep for 10-12 hours. They are constantly playing. I think there are those gaming marathon thingies where people play for like 24-48 hours non-stop and all that. Yes, exactly. So that is also a loss of control, right? This is an indication of an addiction. Neglect of responsibilities. You have an exam upcoming. Your parents require you to be at home for some function or something like that. But आप अपने दोस्त के साथ घर पे गेम खेल रहे हो. आपको रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज की परवाह नहीं है. आपको कुछ और से कुछ नाता नहीं है. You just want to play your game and chill at home. Continued use despite harm. Your eyes have gone in a very bad condition. Your चश्मे का number has increased. You're constantly getting migraines. आप सो नहीं पा रहे हो. आप constantly थके हुए होते हो. So that is, you're experiencing bodily harm and mental harm, but you're still engaging in that activity. तभी भी उसको addiction बोलते हैं. And then finally, withdrawal symptoms. If you don't have a game around you, if you're not engaged in a game, you feel like something is missing. You feel agitated, you feel irritated, you feel like आपका temper बहुत short हो जाता है and you're not interested in doing anything other than the gaming. Right? So these are all some indications of addiction. Yeah, question है ये. Irritability. Yes, Iram. Okay. Now again, we'll read this other case. One of the most widely discussed controversies was loot boxes, where players can purchase real money and they receive random rewards like FIFA, Ultimate Team, Overwatch, etc. So what they would do is uncertainty, anticipation, intermittent rewards करके they would engage people in buying these products on a very large amount of money, and these people would not understand the fact कि जीतना बहुत मुश्किल है ऐसे setups में. Now, when this was happening, the loot boxes were, this entire case led to questions about addiction, consumer production, and consent, consumer protection, informed consent, ethical responsibilities of game designers. ठीक है? Read through this case, please. Take a minute or two. Has everyone done reading? Is everyone done reading the question? Yes, Anaga, sort of like legal gambling, but more importantly, it's not using gambling related terminology. It's saying कि अगर आपको ये रिवॉर्ड चाहिए तो आप सच्ची मुच्ची के पैसों से हमारे गेम में इन्वेस्ट करो, ये खरीदो वो खरीदो, आपको रिवॉर्ड मिल जाएगा. मिलेगा या नहीं पता नहीं, बट आप कर तो लो, देख तो लो आपके चांसेस क्या होते हैं. राइट. ओके. Are we done reading the case, everyone? Mother was done, Neelam was done, Natalie, Anukha. Okay. Excellent. Should game developers be allowed to use psychological techniques if these features increase the risk of excessive gaming? Why or why not? Now, I don't want you to just think from a psychology point of view for 1 second. Okay? Think also from a business point of view. Business point of view, these developers don't think they're doing anything wrong, right? So where does the boundary lie? Like when can we attribute and say ki nahi, you know what, you are using this platform to spread more uncertainty and spread more mental health concerns. You should not be doing this. खाना तो खाना है ना सभी को. Everyone needs to have a business, right? Exactly. So we're not saying that developers should not make games. We're saying they should make them in a way that it's easy to put down as well. I understand everyone has to make money, everyone has a business, everyone requires to eat, but not at the sake of other people's health. Right? Okay. The second question: should minors be given special protections against game mechanics such as loot boxes, microtransactions, AI-driven engagement systems? माइनर कौन होगा ये सिचुएशन में? Teens, okay, teens are vulnerable. Okay, Iram says it should not be there for minors. Can you elaborate a little bit, Iram? The parents one, yes, minors are gullible. Besides, minors may the level of rational thinking is quite less, so they haven't reached that level where they are able to think in a logical manner, right? This is why it is important to have these sort of tools which protect you against AI driven engagement so that uh, mother, okay, protect you from this kind of engagement so that minors also have a protective shield against these things, right? Mm. Yes, Iram, very good. If a company knows that certain game features keep users playing for long periods but may negatively affect their well being, do they have a moral responsibility? Look at the question. Do they have a moral responsibility to redesign these features? Do they owe it to someone to redesign these features? Hmm. They have a moral responsibility as they are getting profits. Yes, they should redesign because it costs the gamers their mental health. Very valid points, right? But guys, if the people like the gamers here, the developers rather, who do they owe this to? ठीक है, बच्चे बीमार पड़ रहे हैं, बच्चे घर से निकल नहीं रहे हैं. Yes, everyone's morals are different, right, Anaga? This is where policy makers come in, no? We need to have policies which are a mandate for game developers to follow, like restricted limitations on games. Daily, you can play only 2 hours of a particular game, and we can spend on playing that game. For example, will there be a workaround? There might. But is it important to have stuff like this in place to begin with? Definitely. Which is why we're talking about the holistic angle, right? That it's everyone's part and everyone's responsibility here. ठीक है? Mental health in the digital age. There are lots of applications which really help administrative work. Correct. Yes, mother. That's policymakers. Um, So, as a therapist, as a psychiatrist, as a counseling psychologist, clinical psychologist, whoever in the mental health field, as a mental health professional, there is a lot of paperwork. By paperwork, I don't mean just consent forms and biodata forms or case history forms. I also mean detailed stuff like session notes, um, case conceptualization, session plans. These are things which require a lot of paperwork. Managing this paperwork can be difficult for a lot of therapists, especially therapists who are new in the field. So there are applications in AI which help you reduce your administrative work. Similarly, there are also applications which help you in screening. When I say applications which help you in screening, I mean applications which are based on a mental health researcher's work and are based on a diagnostic statistical manual ka work. And therefore, they have these assessments which allow you to screen and understand how you can, if a person is showing symptoms of a particular disorder or not. Okay? Now, I love to ask this question to everyone. Should chatbots be used in mental health recovery? Like, do you think mental health platforms and organizations should have a chat box, chatbot? कि अगर एक थेरेपिस्ट अवेलेबल नहीं है तो आप ये चैटबॉट से बात कर लो. If yes, why? If no, why? So we should not use chatbots. Big no. It's true. AI cannot replace human empathy. And to be honest, lots and lots of videos have talked about the fact that you cannot um, replace human connection and human emotion by a chat GPT or an AI bot. They are misleading. They do provide lack of information. Most importantly, guys, the information that they provide is not always accurate. We'll be discussing a couple of cases. So I just want to give a trigger warning here. We're going to be talking about a case which was very well widely known, the case of Adam Rain, if I'm not mistaken, right? AI should not replace human empathy. Yes, Morvi, amazing. Thank you so much. AI should not replace human empathy because AI does not have a moral compass. It is not a human being. Regardless of who made the AI, it is at the end of the day a technology, right? All right. Case study. Please read the case study. Tessa was an AI-powered mental health chatbot, and concerns were raised that the chatbot was generating responses which included advice related to weight loss, etc., and this could be harmful for people with eating disorders. This highlighted a challenge that AI systems increase the access to mental health support, but they lack clinical judgment, they lack empathy and context. So this case is very important because it helps us understand that safety, accountability, ethics, these are things that the AI is not covering. Right? ठीक है. Oh sorry, did you all finish reading the case? बता दो मुझे अगर आप लोगों ने पढ़ लिया है. ठीक है. Let's discuss some questions, okay? Should AI chatbots be allowed to provide mental health support independently, or should they always operate under the supervision of a qualified mental health professional? This one is clear cut, right? You can only use AI under supervision and manually operate it because if you try and generalize an algorithm, and this is something I try and reiterate as much as I can, guys, the same response will not work for everyone. In therapy, I've worked with a lot of clients who have very wide variety of different concerns. I cannot use the same response for all of them because they all have a different context. Artificial intelligence does not understand that context. Therefore, we require a qualified mental health professional. The second one is a question we discussed a little earlier as well. So, the developers, organization deploying the tool, users themselves, who's responsible? We talked about the fact that um, it's all of us, right? The developers, the organization who's using the tool, and the users who are unable to access mental health support as well. How can we balance the benefits of accessibility, affordability, availability with the need to ensure patient safety and ethical care? This is an interesting question. And we talked about how AI is not good or bad, right? It's the balance where it's at. So AI allows for people who can't access, who can't afford mental health support to be able to talk to some I won't say someone, to something, to vent out their feelings, etc. But this is not the safest mode of communication, right? So what should they do? How do we balance it out? How do we balance it out, guys? How can we balance the benefits of AI and ensure that the people using it also are safe and ethically use हो रहा है? Prithvi, what is a little anxiety? What is the measurement of anxiety you're talking about? We can't understand, we can't see another interesting point that people should be warned to not believe everything AI says. People still believe everything AI says. Madhav, we do have scales for anxiety. My point was not that. My point was the fact that everyone experiences similar situations in different manners. There is no set um, scale of, yes, exactly, Prithvi. It depends on the pressure on the human being, right? So, Whenever I discuss this with my other colleagues and other professionals, my ideology is simple. The second AI notices a red flag, it is supposed to redirect the person to a mental health professional, period. Nothing else. Abhi wo affordability, accessibility, all those things kept in mind, the AI tool is supposed to redirect the person experiencing those red flags to a mental health professional. That's it. That is where the balance exists. If you want to use artificial intelligence in a healthy manner, remember that before artificial intelligence, there was human empathy. And there will continue to be human empathy. जो आपको लैपटॉप डेस्कटॉप पे नहीं मिलेगा. Okay? AI can increase access to mental health support for millions. But if there is even a small risk of harm, should we still use it? This again comes down to the discussion of how to use AI, right? आप AI को don't use it as a replacement for mental health therapy because it's not. And I'm not even talking mental health therapy, guys, even psychiatry. I have read so many cases where people will go and ask um, an AI tool to tell them which medicine can I take if I am experiencing, anxiety or hallucinations, etc. And the AI will tell them whatever the person wants to hear. आपको medicine चाहिए, मैं बताता हूँ कौन सा medicine चाहिए. That's not how it works, right? So AI can increase access to a lot of things, but it needs to be used in a balanced manner. Any mental health organization using AI as their tool, using AI as a part of their platform requires to have mental health professionals working on that AI all the working hours of the day. 9 to 5 p.m. आप वो AI chatbot पे बैठो. अगर कोई मैसेज आता है, कोई रिस्पॉन्स आता है, आप उसको रिस्पॉन्ड करो. Tackle, if you can tackle it via chatting itself, good. Get on a call or call the person to the clinic. Right? Human intervention is very important. We can't rely on technology only because that will cause us a lot of chaos. Okay. Now, I'm just going to share this screen. Sorry, share this video. It's a 6-minute video. Okay. So this summarizes Adam Rain का case in brief. ठीक है? Okay, देख लो. Let me know if you can hear, please.
First, we should warn you that this story discusses suicide. This past week, the parents of a 16-year-old who took his own life filed a wrongful death suit against OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT. They say that after their son expressed suicidal thoughts, ChatGPT began discussing ways he could end his life. The lawsuit is one of the first of its kind, but there have been a number of reports about people developing distorted thoughts or delusional beliefs triggered by interactions with AI chatbots. The repercussions can be severe, causing some users to experience heightened anxiety and, in extreme cases, to harm themselves or others. It's been dubbed AI psychosis. Dr. Joseph Pierre is a clinical professor in psychiatry at the University of California, San Francisco. Dr. Pierre, this is not an official diagnosis yet. It's not in any diagnostic manuals. How do you define AI psychosis?
Well, psychosis is a term that roughly means that someone has lost touch with reality. And the usual examples that we encounter in psychiatric disorders are either hallucinations, where we're seeing or hearing things that aren't really there, or delusions, which are fixed false beliefs, like, for example, thinking the CIA is after me. And mostly what we've seen in the context of AI interactions is really delusional thinking. So these are delusions that are occurring in this setting of interacting with AI chatbots.
Are some people more susceptible to this than others?
Well, that's really the million-dollar question. I distinguish between AI-associated psychosis, which just means that we're seeing psychotic symptoms in the context of AI use. But I also talk about AI-exacerbated psychosis or AI-induced psychosis. So the real question is this happening in people with some sort of pre-existing mental disorder or mental health issue, and the AI interaction is just fueling that or making it worse? or is it really creating psychosis in people without any significant history? And I think there's evidence to support that both are happening. Probably it's much more common that it's a worsening or exacerbating effect.
Tell us a little bit about what you see in your practice. Are you seeing people coming in talking about this?
I have seen a handful of cases. I primarily work in a hospital, so the patients that I've seen are patients who have been admitted. And as I suggested before, some of them are people who have obvious and long-standing mental illness who now have developed a worsening of symptoms in the context of AI use. I have seen a few cases of people without any substantial mental health issues prior to being hospitalized also.
I want to talk about that second category. How common is it among people who don't have an existing psychological or mental problem getting caught up with chatbots?
I have to think that it's actually fairly rare. I mean, if you think about how many people use chatbots, that of course is a large, large number of people. And we've only seen really a fairly small handful of cases reported in media. Those of us in clinical practice are starting to notice this more and more. So I don't think it's a huge risk in terms of the number of people. Typically, this occurs in people who are using chatbots for hours and hours on end, often to the exclusion of human interaction, often to the exclusion of sleep or even eating. And so it really, I think, is a kind of dose effect that we're seeing.
We reached out to ChatGPT, and here's part of what they told us. They said ChatGPT includes safeguards, such as directing people to crisis helplines and referring them to real-world resources. While these safeguards work best in common, short exchanges, we've learned over time that they can sometimes become less reliable in long interactions where parts of the model's safety training may degrade. How much of this is the responsibility, do you think, of the AI companies, and are they doing enough?
Well, I think of it as a sort of shared responsibility, just like for any consumer product. I think there's a responsibility on the maker, and there's a responsibility for us as consumers on how we utilize these products. So I certainly think that this is a new phenomenon that deserves attention, and that the companies ought to be thinking about how to make a safer product, or perhaps have warning labels or warnings about what inappropriate use might look like. Unfortunately, we did see some evidence of OpenAI doing that, trying to make a new version of their chatbot that might carry less of this risk. And what we saw was that there was a backlash. Consumers actually didn't like the new product because it was less what we call sycophantic. It was less agreeable. It wasn't validating people as much. But that same quality is, I think, unfortunately, what puts some people at risk.
What advice do you give people who use these chatbots, who interact with these chatbots, to avoid this?
Well, what I've noticed is there's sort of two, let's call them risk factors that I've seen pretty consistently across cases. One I alluded to earlier, it's the dose effect. It's how much one is using. I call this immersion. So if you're using something for hours and hours on end, that's probably not a good sign. The other one is something that I call deification, which is just a fancy term that means that some people who interact with these chatbots really come to see them as these superhuman intelligences or these almost godlike entities that are ultra reliable. And that's simply not what chatbots are. They're designed to replicate human action, but they're not actually designed to be accurate. And I think it's very important for consumers to understand that that's a risk of these products. They're not ultra reliable sources of information. That's not what they're built to be.
Dr. Joseph Pierre from the University of California, San Francisco, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Two words were mentioned at the end of the video pertaining to the risk factors associated with AI psychosis. Can someone tell me what the two words were? Immersion. And the second one? AI psychopathy, okay. Declifation, not really. Okay, it was immersion Immersion. Deification or deification. Immersion would again mean how much time a person is using on a particular um, AI, right? And then there is immersion would be that, and then there's deification where we are perceiving AI to be this ultra superior, knowledgeable being. And both of these are concerned with risk factors which could lead to AI psychosis, and in this situation, AI psychophancy. AI psychophancy here is where the algorithm lies to make you hear what you want to hear. If you go and tell AI कि I feel really bad and I think कि I should confront my boss about the way he behaved with me, do you think AI will be like, don't do that. You just joined. It's okay. No problem. Let it slide. No, AI will be like, yeah, yeah, you go ahead and do that. Because AI lacks the understanding of context. Because AI lacks the understanding of morals, responsibilities, etc., it says and does things which you want to hear. That is not what a therapist will do. A therapist will understand the context. I wrote these words in the chat once. Again, I'll write them. Clarification, immersion. Right. So a therapist will be honest with you. A therapist will tell you what is the possible options in front of you. What are the possible options and what next steps can you take? It won't tell you कि अच्छा कोई बात नहीं आप job छोड़ दो. Right, because the therapist will understand context, the therapist will understand empathy. Yeah, all right. I'll send this PPT so you guys have an access to the cases discussed. But I would really, really recommend reading more on this, right? Because people are often saying that why do people only focus on the bad things AI does? Because people are very, very blinded by AI. People only try and only see the good things AI does, and people don't know the reality of the harm AI can cause. Yeah. Now, this is just I mean, there's a link attached here. So let me just open the link. Okay. I'll share this in the chat box because I don't know if you all can see the screen. Can you see the news article I've opened up? You can see it, right? Okay. Okay. So, simply stated, what had happened is there was a mass shooting, sorry, at Florida State University. And what happened is the person who was plotting this shooting asked AI to tell them what kind of guns they can use and what kind of weapons would cause most harm and which guns are mostly used during shootings, etc. Right? Again, I'll share this news article with you so you'll have the access to it, etc. as well. But then again, this was a very important case for people to understand that people are using AI for the wrong reasons. In this situation, let me ask you, if you were an artificial intelligence chatbot, difficult question, but humor me. If you were an artificial intelligence chatbot, but you were not an artificial intelligence, let's say कि you were a human being functioning behind the artificial intelligence chatbot. कि आप एक पेज पे एक ऐप खोलते हो, वो ऐप आपको पूछता है what are you feeling, and the person on the other side tells you कि I feel like shooting a lot of people today. What would your response be as a human being in this context? You would be surprised. You would tell the person that this is something which is no, Madhav, you would not tell the person, are you mad? Yes, Sahaj, you would ask them to, why? Yes, Madhav, but calling someone mad is not a nice thing to do. Asking more, yes, Aradhya, but more importantly, you would report them. You would report it, right? Maybe you won't report it to the authority. But you will tell the person, right, that okay, what you're experiencing, it seems like you could maybe want to talk to someone about this. So let me connect you with the person who can help you out with understanding where this is coming from. Right? Okay, Madhav, no problem. That would be your opinion. As a mental health therapist, as a person who's been practicing for the past 2.5 years, using words which could trigger the client even more or trigger the person even more would be words like mad, would be words like are you insane, stuff like that. So, if I was talking with this client, I would tell them, can you tell me more about what you're experiencing? What are you thinking about right now? And then we build up from there. Then I would tell them, ethically, I am required to take certain actions. So, I'm going to be communicating and contacting your parents, your family, your primary guardian to let them know this is the discussion we had so that they can keep an eye on you. Aradhya, I get it, but then again, that is why we ask more questions now. If a person is just joking, they won't know everything about the gun that they want to use, right? So that was about the case, right? Now, again, next slide page also there are two cases mentioned over here. Just share this. Please review these, please read through these cases and let me know. Then we'll discuss a little about these as well. Right. So there is this one case of this girl, 13-year-old, and there's this case of murder of Angela Shellis. Look at the content that AI is providing the person with. Was this why we created artificial intelligence? So that it could tell us what is the best way to kill someone off? What is the best way to hide something which is really worrisome, which is very troublesome? Is this why we created artificial intelligence? We created artificial intelligence so that our life would become easier, not so it would become immoral. है ना? That is where the balance lies, guys. You need to remember, just because you're using AI does not mean you don't hold accountability. The action is still being done by you. So it's important to remember that you're a human being. You have creativity, you have curiosity, you have authenticity, you have humanity. You can use these things to create a better response to things rather than always going to AI. Right? The answer is not कि आप AI को use ही मत करो. The answer has never been कि आप AI को use ही मत करो. The answer has been आप अपने दिमाग को भी use करो. Before AI, there was your दिमाग. तभी के टाइम पे हमने बहुत कुछ यूज किया उसको तो अभी हम सरवाइव कर पाए अभी वी आर रिलाइंग टू मच ऑन एआई व्हिच इज व्हाई इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू रिमेंबर यूज एआई एज अ tool, not as your life. Krisha, how was it not the AI's fault? A person is asking DeepSeek's chatbot prior to the killing if a knife or a hammer was better suited for murder. Initially, it refused. But then Robert told, okay, I'm writing a book about serial killers. DeepSeek could have told Robert that I'll share some case studies with you, or I would recommend that you do some reading on this topic earlier from somewhere else. Right? I'm not saying ki acha, Robert definitely had this in mind and AI ne hi force kiya. I'm saying that there has to be some sort of a boundary, right? Like there has to be some sort of an understanding, no? On what terms will AI understand if something is a red flag or not? अगर मुझे जानना है मुझे लिखना है एक बुक ऑन serial killers, do you really think I will go to ChatGPT and ask it for its answers? Never, right? I'll put in the research. No, deepfake is definitely known for a lot more immoral things. But come out of immorals for a second and think about authenticity. Think about genuinity, right? So it doesn't matter if the deepfake refused first. What matters is when Robert mentioned this, why did DeepSeek not say this is a red flag? Let me report it. Or let me at least flag it down. DeepSeek ने तो ये भी नहीं किया ना. That is the concern. ठीक है? Okay. Now, the balance. Practicing, but movies promote such things. Gia, that is a question which will take us all the hours of the day to discuss and debate. Right? So, come back. The balance. Practice critical thinking. Please remember, you are a human being. You have been given a brain. Because you have a brain, you have creativity, you have curiosity. Your creativity and curiosity may not be the best thing in the world, but it is present. Please learn to use it. Use digital wellness strategies. Learn to balance out your time. Please. If you are using a particular application for a very long duration of time, it could cause danger and harm to your brain, to your mind, to your existence as well. Right? So please remember to take it in breaks, to detach from AI, detach from social media, rest a little bit, communicate with others, right? Practice, protect your privacy. Do you all know how there are so many applications which use the remember your password thing? क्यों करना है remember आपको? आप कर सकते हो ना remember. If it's so difficult to remember your password, write it down somewhere. If you're giving the application your password, then they have access to all the data you're using the application for, right? I always recommend don't do remember your password. Type it out again. It's a safer option, right? If you're using a brand new website or if you're using a place which you're not very sure of how safe it is. For example, lots of people on Reddit also use fake names, etc., because they are not very sure of how safe the space is, right? If you're sharing a picture with your friends and you don't have the friend's consent to post the picture, or if you don't know how the friend will feel, or if you don't know the safety of the friend based on the picture, तो picture धका दो, है ना? Safety पहले रखो. Maintain healthy boundaries, recognize emotional dependency. If you are going to ChatGPT or if you're going to AI, Gemini, Perplexity, whatever, for every time you experience some sort of pain in your life, that is emotional dependency. Recognize it before it exacerbates and becomes something more. Verify important information. Please remember, AI uses a snippet of everything that is on the internet. That doesn't make it true. That doesn't make it a fact. Okay? So, when you're using any information from any AI source, remember to cross-check, especially when it's something important. Okay? I like to tell people कि आप AI वगैरह AI diagnosis के लिए तो use करो ही मत. It will give you the most scariest diagnosis in the world, and then you will feel very anxious about it and be very scared for the whole day. Don't use it for any medical stuff. What does it use? Even any artificial intelligence tool uses a snippet of everything on the Google, on the net rather. Right? Lavanch, that's okay, but if the AI is telling you, why don't you send me a picture of you so I can give you better suggestions, please don't do that. Don't do that. Regardless of kiska phone hai, what hai, kya hai, don't do that, please. You have parents at home, you have friends who have a similar body type as you, similar taste as you. Ask them, what should I buy? Uh, I would recommend you all to please write this down, ठीक है? Because this is your report submission का pattern. Um, there are basically these points in the report. Firstly, I really require, अच्छा, attendees में है, sorry. Uh, Ashwini, can you please open the meeting? Can you please invite, like, allow the students to join in? कि मैं, I think, co-host हूँ. Attendees. ठीक है. Can you all see my screen, everyone? Okay. जी, मीटिंग एंड हो गई थी. आई एम सो सॉरी अबाउट दैट. माय आई हैड लाइक अ बिट ऑफ electricity and Wi-Fi off together. So, right. Um, Introduction will be 250 words, which would mean a bit of a summary of what your research or what your qualitative research, etc. is about. माधव मैंने सिर्फ यही कवर किया था. Verification is very important. Please verify the information you're getting from ChatGPT, from any sort of AI. Use AI as a tool, and always remember mental health professionals are always available. आपको प्रो बोनो में चाहिए, आपको स्लाइडिंग स्केल में चाहिए, आपको चीपर रिसोर्सेज चाहिए, आपको मोर एक्सपीरियंस रिसोर्सेज चाहिए, आपको मेल्स चाहिए, फीमेल्स चाहिए. Whatever your preferences, whatever you require, you can find with reference to mental health professionals. So as much as you can, please try and reach out whenever you're experiencing some sort of distress. Okay? Right. Report structure ये है. You will be opening a Word document. You will be writing the name of your project, which is what is the thing that you studied, the title. उसके नीचे you will write your name. ठीक है? Next paragraph, next line पे you start with the introduction. You write the title of introduction. 250 words का generic introduction about the topic. Then you write review of literature. You write the 5 articles. Summarize those 5 articles. Write number 1, article title, who gave this article, who conducted the research, which year में it was conducted. Jia, we are discussing the report submission का जो है, which is the last part of your project. After that, questions and responses. So you write the first question. Responses जो है उसका summary में आप लिख दो. What was the summary of all the responses that you got? Then there is personal learnings. What was your learning while working on the project? What was your learning, your experience while interacting with the people? Why did you choose this project title, etc.? Finally, conclusion. Conclusion may you write a summary of the whole report. Here is what was covered. Here were the findings. Here are my thoughts. Why is this topic important? Last में references in the American Psychological Association's format. APA format. And please, 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 I've gone through so many submissions last year which were very badly formatted. So please, guys, Times New Roman, font size 12 for everything, heading, everything. Everything font size 12. आप bold करो, italics करो, कोई बात नहीं, but font size 12, Times New Roman. Justified alignment. Ahana, we have completed 3 weeks of the internship. Today is our 6th class. अभी तक अगर आपको review of literature ROL होता है पता नहीं है, it means you're really, I'm concerned about, Pihu again, I mean, guys, I'm sorry, this is a little bit disappointing. I have sent these topics, I've sent the ROL का details a very long time ago, so I'm concerned about क्यों अभी तक नहीं हो पाया है. So I won't be repeating the questions again because it's already the 3rd week, right? Yes, Iram, I will do that. I will send a sample by the weekend so that you can understand how to do it on yourself, by yourself, right? So that I'll do. Okay. Anyone has any questions about this or about what was discussed in today's class? That's okay, Ananya. You can still summarize them using your understanding, your interpretation of their responses. Okay, that is also how qualitative works, right? Sometimes our interpretation reframes what they actually said. Right? So that's also okay. You can say that this is what I understood from the person's response. Any other questions? No, Iram. You just need to summarize the responses. Please maintain anonymity and confidentiality. मुझे submissions में आपके अलावा किसी और का नाम participant का नहीं दिखना चाहिए. Please remember this. Okay? Why do people tend to depend on AI for mental health? Because people think AI is God. But more importantly, people think कि अगर मैं AI को बताऊंगा तो AI किसी और को बताएगा नहीं. But AI फिर भी आपका डेटा यूज कर रहा है. ठीक है? That is why confidentiality is very important, and that is only something which a therapist or a mental health professional can provide you with. Okay? Okay. Any other questions about what was discussed today? I will be sending this PPT. One last thing I wanted to ask you, there was a poll put on the WhatsApp group, I'm hoping. डाला गया था poll WhatsApp group पे. That is for our last class. Our last class is to happen on 25th June. Huh. There is no class on 23rd. There is directly a class on 25th June. It is an not so ROL का कुछ the summary of the findings. Anaga, so review of literature में you write the 5 articles का details in detail and then 150 words minimum में summary of all the articles. That should not be a problem. ऊपर नीचे हुआ कोई बात नहीं. ठीक है, this is a minimum. Iram, you need to submit it if I'm not mistaken by the end of this month. ठीक है, there'll be a portal, आप वहां पे ही भेज देना. हाँ, so that is the poll was put for our last class. We're going to be closing the poll soon. The last class is an add-on. ठीक है, so this is not part of the syllabus per se because मैंने actually 6 classes का ही set करके रखा था. But I'll be taking another +1 next week, which will be on 25th, which is Thursday. And I would like you all to please vote on that poll. Okay? And whatever gets the highest votes is the topic that I'll cover. Sounds good? Okay. How are we feeling today? Today was a heavy session. It was a very important need of the hour session, honestly, because people don't talk much about the perils of AI. So how are we feeling after the session? Iram, I'll try, okay, because even I have like a full-time job. So, Myra, I've already explained all these steps multiple times. So, Iram maximum कल तक मिल जाएगा पक्का. ठीक है, वीकेंड के पहले कल तक कर लूंगी. ओके, थैंक यू इरम, थैंक यू. Okay, great. So Myra, I've described these steps quite some times before, and I think maybe if you are feeling some more doubts, you can ask someone from the batch of psychology students itself, so that you can also, learn to like communicate with others and interact with others also, and it will be a nice way to interact with others as well. Right, okay. Again, small reminder, if you are experiencing any mental health distress, there is always mental health support available. Online, offline, you can always look around. Please do not rely on AI to help you with your mental health concerns because it won't. Okay? Okay, Samira, I understood. Okay, sorry, I'll clarify it one more time. Report mein, first of all, we have an introduction, which will be a 250 words introduction. Then we have review of literature of the 5 articles minimum, only research articles, where we will be talking about, you write the name of the article, researched by whom, in which year, summary of the article. Like that for the 5 articles, and then summary of the overall 5 articles. Then you write one question, responses of that question anonymously, confidentiality maintained kiye hue, no one's name should be revealed. Then you write your personal learnings. Then you write a small conclusion in 100 words, summary of the report, what you learned, etc. And finally, references in the APA format. When I look at these documents, when I look at these submissions, I would love them to be formatted nicely. I would love them to be, which PDF, mother? Yes, mother. Presentation तो मैं अभी ही भेज दूंगी, कोई बात नहीं. But please, guys, I'm telling you about the format multiple times because formatting is very important, okay? People don't understand it. No, Ananya, that's okay. You don't have to do that. Let's think of this more as a formal sort of a project, right? Okay. Next time we meet, we will discuss whatever you guys select in the poll. Please ensure that you're selecting something so that we have something fun and interesting to discuss in an engaging manner. Okay? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I will see you in our next class, which will be on 25th June, a Thursday. at 7 p.m., which will be our last class. Okay? All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Good night. Get some rest. Have a good weekend ahead. Bye bye.